Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. And it's Glory Glory Man United. We're on our way to Wembley again, as we defeated Brighton on penalties today. Now, it's one of those games where I felt that Brighton had the majority of the possession, but we had the better of the chances. But like so many times this season, we failed to convert those chances. And in the end, Victor Lindelof was the unlikely hero in the penalty shootout. So, what was your thoughts on that roller coaster ride then, Brush?
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up perfectly, Carl. I thought, yeah, Brighton. Do you know what? We're quite fortunate that Brighton weren't very good in front of goal. In the first half, I felt they had a few chances, but they just didn't have that clinical edge. We probably had the better of the chances, though. I felt we grew into the game more as it went on, especially in the second half. I think we picked it up a gear. It was especially nice when we saw the introduction of Fred, added that bit of impetus in midfield. Things were being strung together quite nicely. And then as the game goes on, you just think, oh, is it going to be one of those days? I wasn't quite sure where a goal was going to come from. And then you get headed to extra time, and then we already know our goalkeeper's deficiencies when it comes to a penalty shootout. So I don't know about you, but I wasn't confident at all. Um, and especially because it started pissing it down with rain as well, just as the pens were starting. Didn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah, De Gea has a dreadful record of saving penalties. We all remember the Europa League final 2 years ago,
Yeah,
um, where it was the Villarreal won 11-10, and De Gea saved no penalties and then missed his penalty. Um, Today was pretty similar. He didn't get near anything. It
any
was
of them. I think there was one bit where I was, it frustrated me when he dived the same way three times in a row.
Yeah, he did, and he's looking at notes that he's got
Yeah,
on penalty takers, and he keeps going the wrong way. I don't know how that can happen.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he had a good game in the 120 minutes. He made some crucial stops, and he needed to have a good game. But in the shootout, again, he didn't offer anything. And what I was saying to people beside me, we were saying to each other that if we're going to win this shootout, a Brighton penalty has to be off target.
Yeah,
That's
basically, that's that's pretty much what I was saying as well. I was like, I've got more. It has to be that Brighton missed the target than relying on Dave to actually save, and that's basically what happened.
and Solly March was the unfortunate player who put his penalty into
Unfortunate
Rose.
as well. Yeah, very sad for him because he had a brilliant game otherwise.
Yeah, I thought if it was a player who's going to miss, it might be a defender or something, but
Mm.
not a player like him. But yeah, all United's penalties were excellent, weren't they? Once again,
I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, even their pens as well. Actually, I thought they were all good. The ones that went in,
yeah,
apart from
it
maybe
was
A Stupian's run up and everything. I think Dave should have done better there.
yeah, the penalties were excellent as they were in the Europa League final 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, I have to admit that whenever Solly March missed, I was
Mm.
Lindelof was not the player I wanted to be taking the next
No.
penalty.
No, I thought it might have been Shaw, but yeah, yeah, cool, calm, and collected. It's very rare, isn't it, that you just score all your pens. I was certainly worried at one or two of the walk ups. Dallo, I mean, very focused, very good penalty. But as he was walking up, I wasn't sure if he was confident or not. Sometimes you can kind of tell by the way a player walks up and stuff. I guess he was just very focused. Um, but yeah, I'm happy for him. Weghorst, I worried about. I started having flashbacks to the '09 semi-final. Dimitar Berbatov against Everton. Still one of the worst penalties I've ever seen. And I don't know, there's an air of that about Weghorst. I just expect him to be a bit lethargic, to be fair. Um, yeah, so that went in. Sancho as well. That was a big call, I thought. You know how the microscope is always on him. So for him stepping up to a penalty, yeah, all right, he did very well with that, and brave call as well by the manager, I think. Because if I was in charge, I think I probably wouldn't have put him in that position just because of the backlash of what might come if he missed.
Yeah, given how poor his performances have been, and
Mm,
him being out for 3 months this season, coming in for a lot of criticism from even United fans, especially after Thursday night where he put in a
yeah,
very lethargic display. It was massive for him to score a penalty, and it was a brilliant penalty as well. So well done to him, and pleased that he earned his wages this week. But I certainly can't say that he didn't. He's you know, the other night, I was hugely critical of him. I thought that he wasn't even trying in Seville, and
Ah,
was
to be fair, who was though, Carl? Honestly, I think Anthony's probably the only one that can hold his head somewhat up after that performance against Sevilla.
but it was so noticeable in Seville that
Mm,
Sancho was pulling out of challenges and everything, not running. That the manager took him off at half time,
hmm.
because he was that bad. But today he came on as a sub. He wouldn't have been the person that I would have brought on, but um, he was involved in some chances that we created, I think. And then obviously he scored his penalty, so a good day for him then in the end. Um, I'm trying to think. The other penalty. Yeah, what I was going to say is the only penalty takers I was reasonably confident about was Casemiro and Rashford. The rest of them I was a bit jittery about. I wasn't sure about any of the rest of them. But they were all excellent penalties. I think Sabitzer might have come closest to missing. Sanchez
Yeah,
got a.
yeah, the keeper got a hand to it, didn't he? I also just record as well in late into the game, Sanchez pulled out a great save. I think the replay showed that Rashford was already celebrating.
Who was he? Um,
Uh,
it was a
I mean, the shot had
deflection,
taken
wasn't
a
it?
deflection as well. Yeah, it took a deflection as well. But yeah, it was a brilliant reactive save.
I thought Bruno Fernandes should have scored at least one of his chances in the first half.
Yes, yes, he had the best chance of the first half. Were you a bit surprised when the manager took him off?
I was, yeah, could be a penalty taker as well.
Yeah, so that yeah, I was a bit surprised by that, especially considering that he was rested as well, having missed the last game. You would have thought, fitness probably wouldn't have been an issue when it came to Bruno.
I, I think he did pick up a knock in the game, and he was limping off
Mm,
when he was substituted, so that might have something to do with it.
hmm.
Um, I have to mention the fact that Luke Shaw had another excellent game at centre half, as he's done a few times this season, and Lindelof did reasonably well alongside him. And it brings me on to say that I don't want to see Maguire being restored to the starting 11 for the next game. I would just
Yeah,
continue with Lindelof and Shaw. Is that how you see it?
I mean, listen, after the other night as well, yeah, it's night and day, isn't it? It's night and day. There's just, yeah, it looked a lot more cohesive today at the back. Obviously, I like to think that we win and lose as a team, and it is like I don't like to pick out individuals, but even in that in against Sevilla, there was a lack of communication between the keeper and the centre half. Just calamity of errors.
Yeah, I don't have much faith in Harry Maguire, from being honest, and
Yeah,
especially
and I think as well with the keeper as well, Carl. I think sometimes there's combinations that just bring out the worst in each other. I think it's one of those type situations with them two.
yeah, the journalist Mark Ogden was said on Twitter the other night that De Gea, Maguire, and Lindelof is like Man United's Bermuda Triangle. And I can I can see
That
where
is
he's
a
coming
that
from.
is a fantastic way to put it. Yeah, I think back to like when Newcastle had Titus Bramble and Boomsong. There's certain partnerships that just don't go together. Like
Yeah,
because before that, like Titus Bramble was quite a promising young centre half in his Ipswich days, and then Boomsong after that went on to have a career at Juventus. So he's not half bad.
yeah. I've never liked the Maguire and Lindelof partnership,
Yeah.
and De Gea is obviously very limited in terms of his ability on the ball,
Hmm.
and was he didn't. Maguire called for it, so he has to take responsibility. But if I was goalkeeper, I wouldn't give it to Maguire in that position.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I think, yeah. So I was trying to sort of look at it, and I think I'll probably go 60-40 in terms of blame. Obviously, like when your captain and centre half calls for the ball, I can understand why you'd pick him out. But then, as the centre half in that situation, you need to have the awareness to see who the hell's around you, and then also understand your limitations and whatnot in ball playing ability. Um, but then De Gea can clearly see that he's got three players around him. So even if he's unaware, surely you pick out a different option. Especially because you should know 4 years in, you should know what your centre halves are about. So you should know their deficiencies.
Yeah, you should know, what the abilities are of the player that you're passing it to. And
Exactly. Because I'm sure, like everyone else, you've seen the other sort of replay videos trending as well since it happened, where there's been other occasions where De Gea has opted to just put the ball out instead of playing it to Maguire in a similar position, or what would happen if he'd passed it out and it was Martinez collecting it, who quite simply just controlled the ball and passed it off. But
Yeah,
you can't
different.
always do that, so you need to know the profile of who it is that you're playing with.
Yeah, it would have been a different story if it was Martinez or Varane.
Mm.
If Maguire just let the ball run, then he would have taken the three attackers out of the game, and he would have looked brilliant doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
But he,
yeah,
but
yeah. That's the thing. Fine margins. I mean, there was also another one, wasn't there, where there was a bit of miscommunication between centre back and keeper, where De Gea came flying out and Maguire almost took him out.
yeah, sure. Remember how Maguire headbutted Ronaldo in a game, when we
Listen,
were had an attacking.
listen. His hit list of injuring our own players is quite extensive at this stage. Uh, he landed on Martial as well,
He's
which
just yeah, he's so clumsy and awkward. Even that own goal in the Sevilla first leg, like it could only happen to Maguire, or just hits him in the
I
face.
did feel sorry for him there, though. There's nothing he could have done really. It's just unfortunate that it was him out of all people. It just had to be, didn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't happen to anyone else.
It doesn't happen to anyone else. Poor guy. He just can't catch a break.
But there's absolutely no way we can start Maguire and Lindelof in the FA Cup final, or we
Oh
are
hell no!
absolutely.
Especially not against that bloody cyborg who's breaking all the records.
So obviously we're hoping for at least one of Varane or Martinez to make that. Seems unlikely, but if they don't, I would go with today's partnership in the final, and hope for the
Yeah,
best.
no doubt. This is the best case scenario because with Varane, I think they said about 6 weeks, right? So we'll be cutting it very fine. Even if he does recover, it will be just in time for the cup final. And then, do you really want to bring a player in out of the cold for such an occasion, without building up his match fitness and whatnot? So provided there's no further injuries, today's lineup would probably be the ideal one.
Yeah, I think so. Dallow's doing okay at left back. Maybe not so
Yeah.
much in Seville, but overall he's done good. He scored obviously last weekend, and today he did all right. So, um, but I have to say the front players were very underwhelming today.
Mm,
I thought Rashford had a poor game. Doesn't look fit. Um, Martial really frustrates me. He's just so lethargic. Doesn't press or close anyone down. He just kind of nonchalantly just strolls around. Um, Anthony thought was surprised that he was taken off because he was one of our better players.
mm,
Bruno did everything but score. And obviously he had to come off as well. But Ericsson and Casemiro I thought were underwhelming.
yeah.
Again, Casemiro doesn't look 100% fit. On Ericsson definitely isn't because he's had to play 3 games in a row and he's only just back from a long layoff. So there's a lot of players seem to be carrying knocks, so they don't look much fit at the moment. We really are just running on empty, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we knew that this was going to happen. In terms of the games catching up with us. The rotation wise, I think it's been more of a worry for us fans than it has been for Eric. So even after the Sevilla performance, there were people calling for like wholesale changes and things, especially with a quick turnaround to this game. But as well as I, like especially after a defeat, Eric has shown that he likes to keep faith pretty much in the same team, barring injuries and suspensions and whatnot. So yeah, it didn't surprise me that he started similarly and started Ericsson again, trying to build up match fitness. But yeah, you can see it's taken a toll on him now. Fred made such a difference when he came on.
So were you impressed with Fred when he came on?
Yeah, yeah, I was impressed with him. Casemiro, like you say, yeah, he's been a bit underwhelming of late. Again, with him, the trouble is we don't have a viable backup for him. So even if you were to rotate, like there's no rotational option for him.
No, there isn't. There's no like for like change.
Mm,
Yeah, one thing that Fred does is that he presses and he's a pest. He hassles and harries, and he did that really well when he came on. Sometimes his touch can be off. Sometimes Fred can be absolutely brilliant when he comes on. Sometimes he can be terrible. Today was kind of maybe not brilliant, but he was. I thought he was very good when he came
yeah,
on, and had a desired effect that the manager wanted him to
yeah, and
have.
that's the thing, and that's why I don't usually call for people like him to start because when we call for it, we see the Jekyll and Hyde version of Fred.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the best way to use him as like an impact sub where he just comes on and just has that energy. after a certain point.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a good player to bring on when you want to introduce some
Mm.
energy into the midfield, and and you want to press the opposition, and he did that really well. Um, he used the maximum amount of subs in this game. Surprised that Malacia came on for Wan-Bissaka, to be honest with you, and I was a bit
Thought
worried.
Wemby had a great game.
Yeah, he did once again, and even
Yeah,
displaying his skills in the opposition's half again, going round
yeah,
players. And defensively he was excellent, and he was up against one of the best wingers in the Premier League,
yeah. Exactly.
Matomo.
Yeah, that's the thing because that was my real fear going into this game. Their left hand side because not only Matoma but Stupian as well likes to bomb forward up that left hand side. So I thought it was imperative that we started with Anthony and Wan-Bissaka on that side. I thought
Yeah,
that was our most solid.
because Anthony tracks back all the time, and
Yeah,
he does the dirty work. And
yeah, yeah,
Wan-Bissaka,
yeah. And I'll tell you what, today, yeah, every time he goes on the outside and tries to get a ball in, I'm pleasantly surprised, and it impresses me.
yeah, he's doing that more now. Just his efforts on
He
goal today were so tame,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. But you could tell though there was one time when he went on the outside where even the Brighton defenders' body positioning, you could tell they were expecting him to cut in. So it's nice that he's sort of starting to add that and trying to mix it up a bit. I feel that his game will improve as well when there's another round of transfers coming in. So when we have a focal point in the box that you can pick out.
Yeah, and he should just shoot to the near post because the goalkeepers won't expect it.
Hmm.
Let us see him just do that now and again. Um, yeah, he had another really decent game, Anthony. I'm surprised that he was taken off. I don't think he was very happy about that. Um,
But that's
I
good though. That's what we want to see. We want players that are unhappy at being subbed.
Yeah, well, he's surprised that Anthony Martial lasted as long as what he did.
Yeah, touch wood. It's one of those we're between a rock and a hard place, aren't we, Carl? Because obviously with Martial, even if he's having a bad game and you look to take him off, we know who's coming on.
Yeah, Veggie really puts himself about, chasing the
Yeah,
goalkeeper down and defenders
yeah,
down.
yeah.
But there was a moment where in the penalty area where he was just no, it was outside the box.
Mm.
He was in he gained possession, and his pass was just dreadful.
Yeah. Because it was the Brighton player that had messed up because they were shattered by this stage. So he done the hard part well, winning the possession back, and then yeah, the touch was just terrible, wasn't it? And just gave it away.
Yeah, and one thing he was doing, apart from the pressing, he was also winning flick-ons.
Mm.
Anthony Martial. Now, when you have a goalkeeper like De Gea who's been instructed to kick it long for obvious reasons, you have to have somebody up front who's going to challenge in the air. Martial and Rashford just watch the defenders head it back. It
Yeah.
really frustrates me. Yeah, yeah. If a goalkeeper's going to launch it, there has to be a centre forward who's going to hold the ball up
Hmm.
or win flick-ons, and I just don't see the point in booting it up to Martial because he doesn't even challenge. Um, yeah. Do you know what I was saying during the game? What would what would be perfect if if Veghorst had Martial's ability, then we would have a player, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
I know we talk a lot on this show about amalgamating different talents from
Yeah,
different
yeah.
players.
Fred and McTominay
Yeah. Um, or Wan-Bissaka and Dallo.
and Dallo. Yeah, yeah, both of them together.
um, Yeah, I thought we did a good job defensively. I have to say, I was absolutely enraged by the referee today. Such one-sided refereeing.
Yeah,
Um, there was certain challenge we were getting. Before, I think, who was booked for them first? It was Matomo, wasn't it? Was booked their first player.
Mitoma should have
He,
been sent off.
yeah, definitely. This tackle on the guy should have been the second yellow.
That's a second
Gone.
yellow. Any other time, that's a second yellow. It's just reckless, wasn't it? So yeah, he was very lucky to stay on the pitch.
But there was three players that easily could have been booked for
Hmm.
Brighton before he was. Um, and there's certain challenges. You're like, there's like a consistency here. I've seen this in other, not just today, where the Matome was booking, but in other games like yesterday, the Cooper's challenge in the Fulham game, Casemiro was getting sent off for this. Yet it's not happening to other players. That really pisses me off.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to ask, don't you, if there's a subconscious bias when it comes to certain players.
Yeah, I think
in
so.
the minds of referees.
Yeah, they're refereeing on a player's reputation and
Hmm.
things like that. But Craig Pawson has never been a favourite of mine. And I noticed even journalists who were covering the game were saying he's one of those referees that likes to get noticed. And I can see where they're coming from. I just thought he was dreadful today. Um, but we couldn't have blamed him if we didn't get through because we had the chances to win the game and we didn't. It should never have got that far. Should never got to this shootout. We should have buried them. The chances we had.
Yeah, listen, but you know this from years and
Yeah.
years of experience. We don't like to make things easy for ourselves.
No, and all season, our biggest problem has not been converting chances.
Yeah,
Um, um, yeah, it's Bruno and Anthony. I think had the majority of the chances and didn't take them today. I'm a bit concerned about Rashford because he doesn't look fit. He wasn't great today. He's taking on players and he's not. He's losing
this was
possession.
my concern, because obviously I wondered if we'd rushed him back a bit earlier than needed, just because we're short. Yeah, I worry about that. I worry about that. He doesn't look properly fit to me. I think we brought him back in just because there's nobody else, and he
And
probably
that's
could have done.
exactly what Ollie used to do.
Yeah.
Always rush him back from injury
Hmm.
and run him into the ground. And he went down a few times in the game today as well. And just doesn't look. Why does it's always happen every season? Rashford just seems to get run into the ground.
Mm.
And by April May he's got nothing left in the tank and he's running on empty. Because the goals are dried up now. Yeah, so that's kind of highlights the issues he's having with his fitness and injuries at the moment. Um, would you get taking that all into account? Would you start him at Tottenham, or would you
It,
try and give him a rest if possible?
it's an interesting one. I mean, obviously we've got a couple of days now. What, 4 days is it? It's Thursday. I think we play Spurs, right? Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll assess it and see how it goes. Against Spurs, you probably have to start him, though, don't you?
yeah.
Um, yeah, because especially because we've got Aston Villa on the 30th,
Hmm.
and that's the day of the planned protests as well. So
Hmm.
who knows how that's going to all play out? If you look back to what happened the last time there was a proper protest, when the Liverpool game ended up getting postponed. Um, yeah, I'd wait and see, but yeah, I can't see us not using Rashford against Spurs. Um, and I was kind of hoping they didn't get battered today. Actually, the way they got battered, they'll be looking for a reaction and a response. And what teams tend to do when they capitulate in that manner is they shut up shop and make it difficult for them to be broken down.
Well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But another way of looking at it is that Tottenham have been in dreadful form since Conte
Mm.
left the club.
Hmm.
And this is an opportunity for us to finally win an away game against one of the so-called big teams.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, most definitely. We'll have to take some confidence from, the buzz of getting to the final as well into that. And in the league, there's no excuse for us to certainly not to be out of the top four. But we should really be looking to secure third, if I'm being honest.
yeah, and the silver lining with being knocked out of Europe is with three less games now and maybe free up some midweeks and things. So
Hmm.
that's certainly going to be helpful with the running. Because like if we got all the way in the Europa League and the FA Cup, we're going to play like 70 games or something. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's a crazy number of games. Crazy
And with
number
a
of games.
manager who doesn't rotate, that's a
Who
big
doesn't
problem.
rotate? Yeah. And then I think the other problem is as well, like our bench and the depth is just it's not right for what he's trying to do as well. So that's why there's a huge drop off when we sub out first teamers, both in terms of quality and in terms of what the manager wants them to do.
Yeah, he made an incredible amount of subs in the first game against Sevilla.
Hmm.
When the tie, as if the tie was won, he's bringing on all these fringe players like Alanga and
Yeah,
Vikers. And
yeah, because I questioned that at the time because at 2-0 up we're comfortable. At that 45 minutes, the first half we were brilliant. We really should have put them to bed. That we had a whole bunch of other chances as well that we didn't take. But then all the changes he was making, it wasn't conducive to us continuing to attack Sevilla. It was the signs that we are content with what we have.
Yeah, and obviously went badly wrong, as everyone knows, with the two own
Yeah,
goals. We when we went 2-0 up against Sevilla, you wouldn't have believed that that would be the last goal we'd score in the tie, and Sevilla would score five, would you?
yeah, no way, no way. I think that's the most disappointing thing when you look back at it, though. I think over the course of the two legs, for me, 3 to 4 of those goals out of five could have been prevented.
I would say all of them. There were most of them were all the goals were down to individual errors.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, it was all a mess of our own making, and that's the most disappointing thing for me. If we were outplayed, fair enough. But I just felt that it was in our hands, and we just let the ball drop.
so just coming back to the shootout, yeah, all excellent penalties from Lindelof, Dallo, Casemiro, Rashford. Um, who else took Sancho, Veghorst? Yeah, so happy that Veghorst scored as well because
Yeah,
his passion for the club is undeniable. Apparently, when United won the shootout, he ran up to the United end and slid on his knees. Um, yeah, and he did something, didn't he? He was when he scored his penalty, he was handing the
he
ball over to
he
Solly
kissed the
March. What did
ball.
he do to the
He
ball?
he kissed the ball. He kissed the
Yeah,
ball before giving it to March.
whatever. Well, it clearly worked. Another thing worth mentioning is we've only won two shootouts out of the last nine that we've took part in. And on both occasions, Robert Sanchez was the goalkeeper in the opposition goalkeeper. So he's a lucky charm, isn't
Wow, there's a stat.
he? Yes, 2019 we beat Rochdale on penalties in the League Cup, and Robert Sanchez was the goalkeeper. But apart from Rochdale and today, we've been a disaster when it comes to penalty shootouts.
Absolutely. I
I
would.
think
I also need us to see us improve on set pieces as well. There was a fantastic free kick chance that we had, and just totally wasted. Totally wasted from that
mm,
angle. Back in the days when we had proper free kick takers, that we used to rub our hands together.
was that when Bruno hit the wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one,
Yeah,
that one. Especially when you look
terrible.
at that angle, some of the players we've had down the years, we would be looking at that going, "Oh, that's a goal."
Yeah. Unfortunately, Ericsson wasn't on the pitch at that point.
Hmm.
Bruno hasn't scored a free kick in maybe 2 years, 2.5 years. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah. When he first came, like even all his free kicks were going in. So yeah,
Yeah, Juan Mata and David Beckham would have absolutely
yeah.
reveled in that chance. Um, yeah, I love a set piece expert like James Ward Prowse. I'd love
Hmm.
to have someone like that at the club again, because it's so valuable. It can be worth maybe 10 points a season if you've got someone who can do that.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Um, I know it doesn't matter now, but what I would have done, if I was the manager today, which obviously I am not, I would have done something that a Dutch manager has done before, and that, and you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this. I had this thought as in the dying moments. I was like, "Ah, this is the time to bring on Jack Butland."
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
again with Jack. I mean, I know after the performance at Sevilla, some people have been calling for him to be given a chance, but he's such an unknown quantity, isn't he? Like in the days where we had Hendo as the option, I could maybe understand. If De Gea is going through really bad form and you bring in the number two to give them a chance. But with Jack Butland, it's a very strange one because I remember he was a very good young prospect. I remember watching him back in the Stoke days, thinking, "Oh, you're sort of in the shortlist for England, even maybe." And then I don't know what's happened to his career.
Yeah, he was such a highly rated goalkeeper when he broke on the scene, and
Yeah,
his career stalled.
yeah,
But
yeah, because he's still only like 30 years old, So for him to be second choice now, it's yeah, I don't know what's happened, but I can't really judge him because I haven't seen him in so long.
yeah, you couldn't start him in an FA Cup semi final when he
Nah,
hasn't
you
played.
couldn't justify bringing him on for a game of this magnitude. Well, you couldn't, yeah, starting him.
Yeah, he hasn't made his debut yet, so you couldn't give him his debut
Hmm.
from the start in an FA Cup semi final. But I would have considered bringing him on for the shootout because of the guy's record
Yeah,
in
because
goals.
honestly, like with Dave, it makes bugger all difference if he's there or not in penalty shootouts.
Which is amazing because he's such a great shot stopper. How can he not save penalties?
Yeah. Like he doesn't get close to anything, does he? It's just
He keeps just diving out of the way.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I thought what was funny as well is that every time he went over to look at his notes, and each time he would dive exactly the opposite
I
way.
know. What was the point of those notes?
Yeah. Uh,
Amazing. But it didn't matter in the end because Sully March skied his penalty. And that was the only way that Brighton were going to miss.
yeah.
Um, but fair play to the lads on our side today who they all took excellent penalties. And I'm really pleased about that because I wasn't confident about winning the shootout. I didn't want it to go to penalties because I thought our record is
Same,
dreadful.
same. But yeah. But so glad that we did that. We got over the line.
The question is, can we beat City in the FA Cup final?
Of course we can. No, listen, listen. Obviously, it depends on suspensions and injuries and all the rest of it. And I'm not the only one that's going to have nightmares of Haaland up against Maguire. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. Listen, on the day, it's a cup final. It's a one-off game. Anything can happen, and we're going to have to take some belief into it as well and some hope because obviously we beat him at Old Trafford, so it can be done.
Yeah, but we had Varane and Martinez that day at the
That is
back.
true. That is true. But Shaw played in that game as well, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Um, yeah, I would not
If I
select him.
remember that one, I think Shaw was left centre back in that one with Malacia play because Malacia had a really good game. I remember.
Yeah, I'll just check that out while we're live.
Yeah, I think it was Shaw and Varane. I'm not sure if Martinez
It
took a knock
might well have
or
been, yeah.
yeah, but I'm
Oh,
pretty sure.
Martinez, yeah. When he came back from the World Cup, it was like
Aha, yeah,
4 or 5 weeks before he started the game again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, I was pretty sure Shaw played left centre back in that game. So yeah,
Yeah. So then he's got experience. Then that just if Martinez is not available for the FA Cup final, then Shaw
mm.
starts centre
And
back because
he's a player
Shaw's
now
had.
that we have to sort of wrap up in cotton wool and protect because yeah, he's imperative now.
And he's such a confident footballer. Never have any worries when he's on the ball. Such a
Hmm.
great technical player.
Yeah,
Um, and he just took to centre back like a duck in water, really. Let me just look. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Malassi played left back and it was showing
yeah,
Varane in that game.
yeah. Because I
Um,
remember Malacia really brought his A game that day as well and put in a real performance. Played with no fear.
on current form, you would probably
I would
select
start with Dallo.
Dallo.
I'll definitely start with Dallo. Malacia is just a rotation option for the time being.
Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Uh, no, a lot of neutrals are not giving us a prayer in the final. I think we need one of Varane or Martinez to make that,
Mm.
and even if they don't, there's no way we can start Maguire in that final. No way.
Not if
We
we can help
cannot.
it. Like I don't. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, today's back four is probably the ideal one
Yeah, yeah, I would say
with
so.
the with the first choices missing.
Yeah, if nobody comes back
Yeah,
from injury, then I would start today's back four. Yeah, I would agree with that.
yeah. But my only hope is that Varane gets to come back fit whilst there's one or two Premier League games left in the season, and that way I can see him start in the FA Cup final. But if he just recovers in time for the end of the season and it's just the FA Cup game left, I don't see him being risked.
Yeah, it would be difficult for him to come in out of the cold. Do you know when Harry Kane started the Champions League final against Liverpool, uh,
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
hadn't played any football for six
Any
weeks?
football at all, and from the get go, he didn't look right.
No, he didn't. That was a mistake. They should have started Lucas Moura in that game,
Yeah,
especially after the semi-final when he got the hat trick. That
yeah,
was
most definitely. Yeah, and then obviously that game was taken away from him in the early moments anyway with the penalty
the
decision.
yeah, that was very unfortunate. Um, So just going to get to the player ratings now. David De Gea had an excellent game in the 120 minutes. Was totally ineffective in the penalty shootout. So I'll go with 7. And Wan-Bissaka probably gets a 7 for me as well. Lindelof 7, Shaw an 8, Dallo 7, Casemiro 6, Ericsson probably 6, Bruno 7, Marcus Rashford probably a 5, Anthony a 6, Martial probably a 5, and we used all the substitutes in this game. So Sancho, I go 6 for scoring his penalty. Weghorst, likewise, 6. Sabitzer, again, probably a 6. And Fred, maybe a 7. I'll go for him because he was very effective when he came on. And Trail Malacia, probably a 6. Um, yeah, and Aaron Ten Hag, I'd probably go with a 6, to be honest with you. I don't think. Um, all his decision making, didn't agree with all his decision making today, but we won the game. Um, one of the things that I probably wouldn't have done t- today was probably bringing on Malacia for Wan-Bissaka. Didn't quite agree with that. And he never uses Palestri. Really frustrates me now. And he uses Alanga in games before he uses Palestri. Why? I just don't get that.
Yeah, I don't understand that one. I think yeah, Palestri's a player that deserves game time. So if he's not getting it, I expect him to go out on loan next season.
Yeah, what's that just doesn't make me happy. I think he's good enough to be part of the first team squad.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I would have brought on Butland for the shootout because if Ten Hag had done his homework, he would know that the guy wasn't going to get near any penalties. Yeah, so 6 for Ten Hag. Um, yeah, so we're going to Spurs at 8:15 on
On Thursday.
Thursday,
Yeah.
and they've just been absolutely destroyed at St James's Park.
Annihilated by Newcastle. Yeah.
So it seems, in theory, a good opportunity for us to finally win an away game against one of the kind of top 6 teams. Because I really don't rate this Spurs interim manager. Um,
Hmm.
they haven't been doing well since he's taken charge, and today, from what I haven't seen, I didn't see the game live. I've seen some of the goals. From what I understand from the Spurs fans and the phone-in shows, is that
Mm.
they they were well off it today. That they didn't want it as much as Newcastle. Yeah, like you
Funny enough,
said,
funny enough, the only thing I did see was Harry Kane's goal. So I haven't seen any of the ones they've conceded. So I'm looking forward to match of the day later
I mean, the
to see them.
goalkeeper was substituted at half time. When does that
Oh
ever
wow!
happen?
To be honest, I've been feeling for a while now that was it Lloris? Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. For a while now, I've been feeling he's past his best.
there was rumors. I heard on was it Talksport or Five Live. There was rumors. I don't know how true that is. That Lloris refused to come out for the second half.
Oh wow!
Don't know if that's real or not.
I mean, they
Um,
were what 3 goals down in 9 minutes or something.
yeah, and 5-0 down after 21 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it could have been any score then at that point. So they're lucky to get away
yeah.
with 6-1. Um, it wasn't good by the sounds of things. So, like you say, it could go both ways. There could be a reaction on Thursday night,
Mm,
or else we can see this as an opportunity to to get a result against a team who's very low on confidence. So, uh,
yeah,
hopefully, it's the latter. I don't care how we win. We need to go there and get the points.
absolutely. That's the most important thing.
And yeah, you probably have to play Rashford in an away game against Spurs
Yeah.
if he's even 60% fit. But
Hmm.
I'm just not happy with how unfit he looks. He's just not himself. We're not getting the best out of him at the moment. Um, and Casemiro just hasn't looked right either, has he, since he came back?
Nah, he hasn't. He hasn't looked good.
Just seems to be off the pace. And now today we seen when he was on a booking, he wasn't going full throttle into challenges. Then he was so terrified of
Hmm.
being sent off. Um, yeah. So my team then against Spurs would probably be more of the same, probably. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think with what we've got currently, today's lineup was probably the strongest we could put out, like as a starting 11.
Yeah, I think so. But I just don't think that um, Mar- Martial just doesn't sprint enough. He doesn't press. I just wish he had the attitude of Veggie, and then we really would have a player. Um, like his ability is unquestionable, but just his lethargic attitude really gets on my nerves at times. Uh, I think both Martial and Vegas will
For
come
me,
in.
I think it's a multitude of things with him. I think the injuries have definitely caught up to him. Like, he's definitely lost pace. He's
Yeah,
not as he's not as quick as he and as mobile as he used to be. So I think it's a lot of that as well. In terms of like his general demeanor and stuff, it's always been the same, hasn't it? Like he just doesn't smile. I don't know how much we can dig into that really.
I know. I think it was Tim Sherwood was saying on Soccer Saturday that Martial just his body language just annoys him. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I don't really agree with that though, to be honest. Like, because that first leg against Sevilla, like we saw the good that he brings to the team as well. If he's doing
yeah,
that on a regular basis, I've got no complaints.
he did well against Everton, Forest on the first game against Sevilla.
Yeah.
But what happened in the second? If he was fit to play 85 minutes today. Why did he
Mhm.
come off just after half time in the second leg against Sevilla? Why did he signal to the bench, "I want to come off"? He wasn't injured because he started today and played 85 minutes. So what was that all about?
I'm guessing probably a precautionary measure. Again, it was Maguire that landed on him, right?
We see, I knew that Bruno today wasn't going to come off when he got injured. He's one of those
Yeah.
players. But see, Martial
But
feels
but you see,
anything at
with
all.
him though, I think it's probably PTSD, isn't it? From all the injuries, I can sort of understand psychologically why you would want to rest up.
Yeah. But he's missed so much of the season.
Yeah,
It's not sustainable.
yeah, it's one of those with him, mate. Like whatever we get out of him, I'm just, anything is a pleasant surprise and a bonus. Like I'm not expecting more than half an hour a game from him, to be honest with you. And even that is something. you know,
It's that's not great when from
it's not
your
great. When someone sat on 250 grand a week, it's not great at all. But again, these are problems of our own making.
yeah, he probably shouldn't have got a new contract.
Nope.
Whenever he did, I don't think
Hmm.
he was worthy of it. But that's just the legacy of Woodward. He done it
Yeah,
better.
exactly. It's just it just
Phil Jones
highlights.
being the obvious example.
Yeah, it just highlights the Woodward legacy, doesn't it? Well, thankfully, Phil's contract is up this June, so hopefully that's one down. As for Martial, he's got a year left. Um, yeah,
And
and then it
and
just depends if anyone wants to take a punt on him in the summer, I guess.
and then Bailly, who got a new deal inexplicably as well, he's going to be coming back
And
to
I've
the club.
heard that Marseille are not going to be
No,
exercising the option to buy him, which I
why
didn't
would
think
they?
they would because the way they structured it as well was quite clever, and I didn't think he would, make more than 50% of appearances for them in order to trigger the clause.
And it didn't help that he got like a 8 game ban or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and he's not first choice. So he's going to be another player that we'll have to shift and will be difficult to shift because, like we always talk about, they're on such high wages that the clubs that would take them on just
Hmm.
cannot afford those wages. Um,
Exactly. Like for Martial, for example, like if I'm any other club, like why would I put up the same amount of wages for him, knowing his injury record? Like it's too much of a risk.
yeah, so even if we tried to sell Martial this summer,
Yeah.
let's say it was to a Serie A team,
Hmm.
um, they're not going to be able to afford 250
No,
grand a
no,
week.
they're not going to. They're not going to. So either you sort of forego a transfer fee, or you agree a situation where the other club will be like, all right, listen, but for the remainder of the year, you're gonna have to pay part of the wages because we can't afford it.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a structured deal.
Yeah.
Um, so we don't know what the situation is going to be when the FA Cup final comes around, but potentially we could be in a situation where City are they're 2 games away from the treble, and we are obviously in a position to win the domestic double, not domestic double, domestic cup double.
Yeah.
So it could be a massive game. It's the first time that the two clubs have met in an FA Cup final.
Yep.
So it's going to be a huge occasion, and we're going to be underdogs.
Yep.
And but this is if City assume they've won the league by this point and they're in the Champions League final, those are still ifs at the moment. Especially when City have got to play Real Madrid, which would be a tall order for them. Um, in 1977, Liverpool had the opportunity to win the treble. They didn't, obviously, because they've never won the treble. And the
Mm.
reason why they didn't is because they lost to United in the FA Cup final, and United were big underdogs that day. So we're going to need to channel our inner 1977 on June the 3rd, and prevent our rivals from winning the treble, if indeed they're in that position. But yeah, it's going to be such an enormous task given the form that City always seem to come into form at the right time, don't they? They're absolutely ruthless at
Yeah,
the moment.
yeah. That's what it is, and you know they're so fluid that they can make changes and still carry on.
Yeah, they've got two teams, flip
Yeah,
sake. Whereas we lose key players and the drop off is massive. So we're nowhere near, their squad depth at the moment.
yeah, and Pep, he seems able to adapt and find solutions, doesn't he? He keeps changing things. I saw a team sheet the other day from them, and on paper it looked like a 3-3-3-1. And I just looked at it and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, I know it's just it gets.
Three rows of three, and then Haaland up top. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, but probably because they were playing a championship team, he just thought he'd experiment a wee bit.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so they're looking favourites for the league at the moment now because Arsenal have drawn 3 games in a row, and
yeah,
they
yeah.
play
Well, I mean,
Arsenal at home.
huge game on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Arsenal.
have to be honest. I think City are going to win that at a canter.
It's going to be interesting because obviously, I think obviously on form as well. People would think that, but you know, Arsenal. Well, it's still in their hands technically, isn't it? So yeah, I think Wednesday's huge.
I think Arsenal have to win that game now,
They have
and
to win that, yeah. Because if City win that one, then psychologically that's a huge dampener, and then City can theoretically go ahead as well because they'll have a game in hand.
yeah, but they will have to overcome Real Madrid to
Yeah,
win the Champions League.
yeah. I just hope that Don Carlo and the boys work their magic,
Yeah, they have to.
so that I can watch the Champions League final in peace.
Yeah, because if if City make it to the final, I think they've
Yeah,
won
it's
the
just
Champions
nervy.
League.
It was a disgusting feeling that year when it was City and Chelsea. I didn't like it.
Yeah, but this time they're going to be playing one of the Milan teams, and City are going to be overwhelming favourites to win that final at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's the other thing as well. So really, we need Real Madrid to, put that heritage to good use. The experience needs to come out. I do
So
worry though this time round because that defense can be got at, especially with Haaland.
yeah, we're going to need Rodrigo, Vinicius
Yeah,
Junior,
yeah.
and
Benzema
Benzema
to be
to
at
be
his
at their best,
absolute best. Yeah,
and Modric. What a fantastic footballer he is.
yeah. Just defies age, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he just does. He doesn't look 37, does he? Incredible
No.
footballer. Um, yeah. So on June the 3rd, we could be in a situation where City are being crowned champions. They're in the FA Cup final and they're in the Champions League final the week after. So then in that scenario we have to win. We
We
have to win.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, if as if there isn't, any more impetus like that would be, getting to a final. I can't dream, but win it anyway. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
in the league as well, it's if they win it again, that's a three-peat. It's
yeah,
not
and
nice.
we're the only team
We're the
in
only one in the Premier. Yeah, we're the
Premier
only
League
one in
era,
the Premier League era to do a three-peat.
and I don't
So
think anyone in the history of English football has done four in a row.
yeah,
Um, so and they could be on for that next season if they win it this year.
mm,
Um, and so the only thing we'd have left on them if they win the league is the treble, and obviously the Champions League as well. So
and the
they could
second three-peat,
they
I guess.
they could they every if they win the treble, everything we've got over them they've taken away from us. So
Yeah, pretty much.
we have to win the
Yeah,
FA
because
Cup
they've done
final.
the domestic treble. They've just not done the proper treble.
Yeah, and they haven't won the European Cup yet, which
Yeah.
Guardiola was brought in to do.
And then with that, with these super uber rich clubs, I mean, it's only a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
matter of time for City probably, but not PSG. They're just a laughing stock in the Champions League, to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah. Over there, they've got more. Yes, because they're just trying to do other things. They're trying to build them up as like a brand. Like they've got a store in New York where all the fashion designer places are, and I don't think anyone in New York knows who Paris Saint Germain are. To be honest,
No,
you
doubtful.
know that goes to show what they're about. So yeah,
Yeah, they're nowhere near it again this year, PSG. But
mm.
City have made three semi-finals in a row in the Champions League, so that's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and if you all you can do is keep knocking on the door, right?
But
Eventually, you're going to knock it down.
do you know in previous seasons we've always had to rely to stop our rivals winning trophies? We have to rely on other teams doing us a favour. And sometimes the team we want to do us a favour is City to stop Liverpool winning titles.
Yeah,
But thankfully, this time we can do something about it ourselves because we're playing
yeah,
City
yeah.
in
It's in our
FA.
own hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's added impetus as well. Yeah, and the FA Cup is something that I've wanted for a while. I just feel like over the last 20 plus years, our record in that competition has been quite atrocious.
It has been one win since 2004,
Yep.
and Arsenal have now overtaken us. I think they have 13 and we have 12. Is that right? FA Cup.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've overtaken us by one, I think.
So we'll equal that if we win it. So going to be a tall order. But you can't. No one can say we have no chance. That's a bit unfair because we've beaten City already this season.
Yeah, and it's a
Um,
cup final. In a cup final, anything can happen. Nothing's won on paper.
yeah, Manchester
Um,
City lost to Wigan in the cup final.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we wrap it up there for today. If everyone could please smash a like on the video, get your thoughts in down below, and subscribe to the podcast. And I will see you again then, Brush.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, see you later.